What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to PXA Peeks at Dig Doge. Indeed. So, this kind of got dropped on me a few days ago, and when I looked at it, I didn't think too much of it at the time, but then I saw who was attached to it, and I got quite a bit more interested. This comes to us from Wild Rooster, which is the sort of development label, if you will, for Rusty Moyer, who is obviously a one-man show who has put together a lot of smaller, primarily mechanics-focused games over the years for various different platforms, mobile, PC, console, and I've always found his stuff rather interesting, and he was one of the members of the team behind Retro Game Crunch, which I covered on this channel quite a while ago, actually, and was a really interesting and kind of surprising little collection of different retro titles. And this is his latest offering. It's dirt cheap. It's only $3 US. It's on PC, Mac, and iOS and Xbox One, which is a rather interesting combination. And, well, it's a cutesy 8-bit roguelike. Yeah, take a drink. I know we got another one of these things going on. But it's just based around, well, as you can see, it is very 8-bit, and it's just based around a cute little dog who's in search of bones. That's it. That's really all it is. There's no story, there's no anything like that, but that's not the point of this thing. So, as you can see already from the sort of aesthetic and especially the music, which I think is really, really good in this game doesn't really take itself seriously at all. It's about this dog that's got like these supersonic powers, and he's trying to get through levels to find bones that make him ascend into the sky like a rocket. Yeah, that's pretty much the deal. But the thing about this that I really like is that the mechanics behind it, I think, are they're quite focused, and this game has a relatively simple concept to it and a relatively simple objective. And the way it mixes things up is by changing up the environmental variety and by introducing different kinds of enemies and different sorts of power-ups and things like that. That's really the core of it. Well, and, you know, not failing like I just did there. So, yeah, so I'm playing with a controller here, though you can play this with the keyboard as well. I find the controller a little easier to navigate some of the tight spots here. But you simply move left and right, and your dog just digs, you know, dig dog, get it? Yeah, right. And if you mash the A button on the controller, you can do this thing here, which sort of allows you to speed up and dig faster. And you can sort of, if you time this right, you can actually make him really, really motor through here. You don't get anything for killing enemies generally, but you'll see a couple of them here, like these guys here, these are my least favorite kind of enemies, because you had to hit them from the side. But some of them have sort of gold eyes, and the gold eye means that they are carrying a coin. And the coins are what you spend in places like this when you come across them to buy upgrades. This is actually a roguelike, not a roguelite, in that there is no permanent progression. Everything is entirely contained to the individual runs. So you can buy power-ups that will last the rest of your run, but that's it. They're not permanent beyond that. And as you can see here, your goal is to get to the bone, which sometimes can be placed in a rather tricky position. These levels are randomly generated. And those environmental aspects here, like, for example, these white blades, those will hurt you if you go into them. When you're charging out of the level, like you saw there, and your dog turns white, you're invulnerable. So in that case, it doesn't matter. But when you're trying to get out of the place, you gotta be, or when you're trying to get to the bone to get out of the place, you gotta be a little more careful. And as you can see here, there are multiple different areas and environments that you can go into, each of which have a handful of levels for each one. Each of the new areas introduces new enemies as well. So I've not gotten to the pardon me, I've not gotten to the end of this yet, but I have encountered enemies with various different traits. You know, some of them are these flying enemies that will just, you can see them caught up there, that will sort of seek towards you. There's those spiky guys who just sort of walk towards you and will fall down any crevice or anything like that, but they're also, you have to hit them from the side as opposed to from the top. And there's those blob things that can actually traverse through the environment without breaking it. Things vary up quite a bit, and it keeps you on your toes, which I really like. Oh yeah, also another thing I forgot to mention. Pressing the X button is a dedicated 8-bit bark button, which I just think is absolutely adorable. As far as I know, it does nothing. It has no impact, it doesn't scare the enemies, it doesn't do anything. If it does, the game hasn't explained it yet, because this game has no tutorial. It's very simple to pick up and play. So when you start it, it just throws you in and that's it. There is this is sort of the normal quote-unquote hard mode. There is an easy mode, which is much more about free roaming and is far less, it's far less complicated. It's really more designed to get you used to things. So you see there's also this thing here, which is kind of an explosion thing. So you can also see there, that guy actually had a red eye, and those guys drop hearts. So you can recharge health in this, though they are few and far between. Again, this is very random. Being a proper randomly generated roguelike, that you will sometimes have very good runs in this, and sometimes this thing will just be a mean old bastard, and you'll get screwed at every turn. That's the way it goes. But you're sort of seeing here, runs are very quick. I think the longest run I ever had, single run I ever had in this was like 5 minutes. It's designed to be very quick. That's one of the reasons it's out on mobile as well as PC and console, is it's designed to be played very quick and very... So you can see here, you can get combos if you can string things together really well. But it's designed to be played very quick, and I imagine even a full perfected run probably won't take you that long, really. But, so, you see, that's a new enemy type there that, yeah, those guys are kind of difficult. You can also use Warp here, which allows you to go to areas that you previously visited. So because I've completed that sort of desert world, I can go straight there if I want. I can only go to the forest world or whatever this green one is when I've completed it. And as you can see here, there's only 4 principal worlds listed in here. There might be additional ones after that, but this is not a long game either. I mean, it's only $3. It's designed to be sort of quick and simple, right? I would say if I was to compare this to other games that have come out recently, I think the closest thing I would probably compare it to would be Downwell, which is a game that I covered on here a while ago. I love Downwell. I have played so much of that, and I still fire it up on a fairly regular basis, and I've still never beaten it because, God, that game is a bastard. But I would say this is kind of like that. You can certainly see Downwell inspiration from this. Obviously, your principal goal is to dig mostly downwards. Obviously, there's a little more of other axes in this than there is in a game like Downwell, but I kind of screwed that up, but also not. Yeah, I did. So there are more axes in this than there are in a game like Downwell. Downwell is literally pretty much about going straight down. I would say this is definitely not as responsive or snappy as Downwell from a control perspective. I feel to a degree that's by design. Like the way you have to control your dog, especially when you have to time the sort of powerful digs here, like you see like when he goes red like that. And you see, if you overdo it, it's very easy to fly sideways into an object that you weren't expecting. And that can be frustrating because there's been multiple times when I was like, no, I didn't want you to go that far. Why'd you do... And that is, I think, by design. This is supposed to be a little less uber precise, so that you better learn how to manage it and how to control what the aspects of it that make traversal a little bit easier. And obviously you can buy, we haven't bought any upgrades yet. The upgrades help for sure. I found none of them have made a massively substantial difference yet. Like I haven't found any item or upgrade that I would consider to be basically, you know, the equivalent of a win button. A lot of games like this tend to have that, where they have an item you can get where you're like, well, if you can get this, then you're gonna have so much easier a time. Downwell has a couple like that, even in my opinion. This one, at least so far, I haven't run into them all yet, but I haven't come across anything that's that good. But they do help, absolutely. But again, this being totally random, I haven't bought one yet because the ones that it's been putting in the shop for me require a lot of coins, more than I have been getting on average lately. So it really is a true proper roguelike in that respect. I generally like the aesthetic. Rusty Moyer does the 8-bit thing really well. It's interesting because the music in this, which I'm sorry I'm blanking on the person who did it right now. The music is the one thing that Rusty Moyer doesn't do, but the music in this comes across a little bit more square wavy, something that you would hear on the NES. The aesthetic to me comes across more like a Commodore 64. It's a little chunkier, you know, it's got the dog bark noise to me actually sounds a little bit more like something that would come out of a SID chip. But yeah, I look at the art style of this, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of games like Bruce Lee or something like that, that are very, it's very chunky, very, very square pixel, you know, things like that. It's an aesthetic, as retro aesthetics go, it's one that I dig, you know, in terms of pixel art. There's styles that people tend to focus on more than others. And yeah, it's nice to see the sort of Commodore type aesthetic used more often, because it often isn't. But in terms of you know, this is not the deepest roguelite in the world, or roguelike in the world, obviously. Like, I've covered a ridiculous amount of these things on this channel in the last year or so, and I would say this is not the deepest one in the world, but it's not designed to be. This is designed to play much more arcadey. It's designed to be simpler. It's designed to be one that you will, you know, play when you got a few minutes here. Pardon me, I don't know what's wrong with me this morning. It's designed to be played in smaller spurts when you have a few minutes here, a few minutes there. You know, that's why it's on mobile as well as on PC and console. I don't know what this would play like on a touchscreen. I would probably try the mobile version if it was on Android, but it's not right now. I don't know how playing this with a touchscreen would go, given the directional precision it often requires, but it might work. And this is a game that's made for something like a mobile device. It's made for, you know, quick little session. Oh, I'm standing in a line. I got a few minutes here, a few minutes there, whatever. And that's what's good about it. But this also is very quick to fire up on PC. Obviously, with this aesthetic, you could probably run this on a netbook. It does not require any kind of beefiness whatsoever. You know, like, you could easily put this on a laptop or a work computer or something like that, no problem. And I think it's very good for that. That's clearly what it was going for. And really, this is done in the spirit that Rusty Moyer does most of his games, which is that they're small, easy to learn, hard, you know, often hard to master, and they're focused really around simplistic, mechanical, just raw fun. You know, they have a simple concept, and that's what they wrap everything around. And I've always liked his stuff for that. And that's one of the things I really loved about Retro Game Crunch, especially because there was so much variance in that. But yeah, this game is surprised me. It's a lot of fun. I got a code for it, and I was like, the heck is this thing? And I'm not gonna lie, but when I first looked at it and I didn't realize who the developer was, this kind of looked like some kind of, like, you know, shovelware or weird student project or whatever. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have looked at it and went, well, this could be potentially cool, you know, regardless of what the screenshots indicate. And then, of course, when I saw Rusty Moyer was making it, I was like, well, all right, yeah, I want to check this out. And it did not disappoint. And I mean, it's dirt friggin' cheap, you know. Even if you bought this on a platform that didn't have a refund policy like Steam, you're out, you know, the price of a decent cup of coffee if you don't end up liking it. But yeah, you've basically seen the core of it here. It is, at its core, pretty simple. But it's really surprised me, and I've played a decent amount of this, and I intend to. This is, wow! Those guys are dicks. I hadn't seen that before. But yeah, I haven't played a title like this that has provided this level of simplicity yet challenge, and that can be played in this nice little, you know, quick spurt methods since Downwell, most likely. Well, maybe, but Downwell's the last one that really comes to mind for me. And it's nice to see more of these. I think, you know, games that are simple but inexpensive and just designed to give you, because that's the thing, you can have a game that's designed for just killing time here and there and not have it be some, you know, mobile free-to-play, you know, devoid of anything money pit. It's just, you can have a game that is not complicated and is not necessarily ultra deep, but is just fun to play in a little spurt, but can still be a quality title. And that's absolutely what this is. And it's nice to see that we have some devs out there who can really sort of land that idea. So yeah, that is Dig Dog, developed by Rusty Moyer and published by was it Mad Rooster? Now I don't even remember. Boy, I am all over the place this morning. Anyway, it is out for PC, Mac, iOS and Xbox One. I'm playing the PC version, which is normal asking price is $3 US on Steam. $3, people. I mean, come on. This is a ton of friggin' fun for $3. If you like roguelikes, or you just want a nice little challenging time waster for once in a while when you need it, can't go wrong in my opinion. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. I also do live streams over on Mixer at mixer.com/pxabstraction, and don't forget to follow @pxabstraction on Twitter to find out about new stuff first.